Welcome back to We the People University. My name is Abaya Israel, former police officer, former sheriff deputy.
Open up! Police!
All right, so today we're not dealing with any particular police department. We're dealing with my personal experience. I don't know how many videos I have up right now. But on every video I've uploaded, even when I did a couple live streams, someone always seems to ask the question, why did you quit law enforcement? Or the other main question is always, how is it that police don't know the law? And so I want to share with you guys just, my personal experience. This is not a heavily edited video. This is not something that's rehearsed. I'm just going to give you just the honest truth. My experience, what I dealt with, what I learned, why I left, what I did not learn, which was a lot. And so, man, first things first, I'll just walk you guys down my history. I started off as a paramedic. Well, EMT in the state of Florida is you got to go EMT. Then once you finish EMT, you have to go to paramedic school, and I did that process. And I was a paramedic. I really didn't want to go too far into the medical field. I kind of got burnt out on that part pretty quickly, and so I transitioned to law enforcement. My entire family is either military or they work in the medical field. And I was the first one to go into law enforcement. We were in some type of career where we were helping someone. And so why not law enforcement? Well, I guess it's a good reason or a good answer to why not law enforcement. So I make this transition and I'm gung-ho. I'm naive. I'm younger. I'm not a kid or anything, but I'm younger than I am now. I'm 40 years old. I'll be 41 next week. At this time, how old am I? I'm 33, 32, 33. And so I'm going into law enforcement and I'm excited. And, I learned quickly it's not what I thought it was going to be. I learned that just coming right into it. I learned that you policing and being a part of community policing was a fairy tale. Now, why did I even think that was true to start with? Because you can look at the history of policing and you see what's happening all around, right? But I actually knew what I believe to be. I know a lot of people may disagree and say there's no such thing as good police. But I believe I knew some good police officers. Some guys when I was a kid, and they would actually, check on the neighborhood kids. They wouldn't pull up and just harass us. They would stop and get out and ask us, hey, how are you doing? It wasn't an investigation. They would come out and shoot the basketball with us, throw the football with us, ask us about our grades in school. I knew some officers like that. So I didn't have the outlook. Although I grew up in the area where most people, you would think that most people would have the outlook of police in a negative light. But there were some good guys, I believe. So, there was some hope, at least I thought. And so finally, I'm taking this journey into policing. But all right, so let's start with the academy. All right, I'm gonna try and make this really short because the academy story is pretty short. It's not a lot, that we learned in the academy, which you guys already know that. I'm just going to confirm that right now. It's not a lot, So what did we actually learn in the academy? Self-defense, defensive tactics. How often did we go over the Constitution? Hardly ever. What we were taught is, hey, he ran a stop sign, oh, well, that person ran a red light. So I knew how to write a ticket, you know. I knew how to stop you and get your information. I knew all of this stuff. Now, I'll be honest, while in the academy, I thought it was normal. I thought, okay, well, yeah, I mean, we're supposed to do this. You know, you did run a stop sign. You did run a red light, you know, so we do need to stop you, either cite you or give you a warning and tell you not to do it anymore. Little did I know, it was so much more to it. It's a lot more to it. And the problem was we were always defensive tactics. It was always hands on. I'm very well trained, hands on, hand to hand combat, right? I was very well trained in that. But what I was poorly trained in was the Constitution. Of course, everybody knows about, you know, the First Amendment, Fourth Amendment, certain amendments, right? I read on a study one time that 37% of people in the United States can't even give you what the First Amendment is about. You know, maybe they have a general idea, you know, but they really can't tell you. But hey, my understanding was the citizens, right? So, but the police, we should definitely know. But they never taught us that. I'll tell you a quick story before I go deeper into the academy. I'm gonna kind of go backwards a little bit, or skip ahead, then I come back to the academy. While on patrol one night, it was an extremely slow night. Nothing's happening. It's late, you know. I circled the city a million times, at least my zone a million times. Nothing's going on, and so I stop. And when you see cars in the parking lot, let's be honest, we're probably on the phone. There's nothing happening. We're bored, which a lot of times when you see police officers just harassing people, it's because they're bored. I'm telling you, it's ridiculous. Me, I decided to watch YouTube one night. Right? Some taxpayers are going to get our tax dollars. I know how it goes. Trust me, I know. But hey, I'm telling you the truth. I decided to watch YouTube one night, and I came across a video of this guy, and he was, you know, harassing police officers. He was harassing police officers, and he was going up to them, and you know, he was asking them questions, and I'm like, wow, this is different. But this guy, he was, to my understanding, harassing police officers. So he was asking them questions about policy and about the Constitution, and talking about the public, and I'm a little lost. I'm like, what in the world, you know? And so I'm like, okay, you know, and what I'm seeing now is these police officers that he's approaching, they can't answer the questions. Some of them would just get upset. Some of them couldn't respond. Some of them would just leave them be, you know. They couldn't answer the questions. Now, later, I learned that guy was Big Nick, South Florida Accountability. I had no clue what a 1A auditor was. I had no clue of any of this stuff. I was like, oh my God, you know, this is different. I had no clue. And so I'm watching this video, and my supervisor comes by, you know, and me, I'm just watching the video. I don't think to turn it off or try and hide it. You know, it's a video. It's interesting. I'm interested that how, you know, why these officers don't know, you know, the questions, don't know the answers to the questions that this guy is asking. And what I noticed is that there were a few answers that I didn't know as well. So that bothered me, because I'm the type of person, I like to be able to know something so well I can explain it to you inside out, backwards, blindfolded. But if I don't know the information, I can't do that. So it bothered me that I didn't know the answer to a few of those questions. You know, he was asking several questions. So my supervisor, he comes up and he sees Big Nick on my phone, and he hears Big Nick, and I'm deemed. Maybe he was joking, maybe he was serious, I don't know, but you're a traitor. I'm like, what are you talking about? Mind you, I don't know what a 1A auditor is. It's my first time. Like, what is that? So he said, you're a traitor, but he says it with a laugh, you know. But he later explains, yeah, those guys are just trouble, and they go around and they start trouble, and they just trying to get a lawsuit and all type of stuff, right? Oh, okay. So I'm like, oh, really? So naive. Okay, cool. They're trouble. So let's go back to the academy. I just wanted to put that out there. I had no clue what this was, but remember I told you that I was watching Big Nick, and my supervisor caught me watching Big Nick. By the way, Big Nick, if you ever come across this video, thank you. You got me in trouble. I'm joking. Now we're in the academy. We're learning what I think we're supposed to learn. That's defensive tactics. Again, well trained, hand to hand. I can defend myself. Very accurate shooter. I can shoot a gun well. Why? We did a lot of that. But I came out of the academy not knowing your basic rights. I came out of the academy not knowing if I saw you on a sidewalk recording me doing my job, that you have every right to do that. I didn't know that. A lot of these officers don't know that. And what I tell people is this, that you see officers violating the rights of citizens all the time. Some of them are doing it on purpose because they do know, but many are not doing it on purpose. They really don't know. Now, I've never had the situation where someone recorded me and I had, oh, hey, you stop, don't record me. I never had that situation. But if it had happened, I truly would not have known that, that's lawful. I would not have known that. Guess what? I don't know at that time, I didn't know what an easement was. I didn't know, hey, private property, public property. We were never taught any of that stuff. The only thing we were taught about private property is what tickets we can and could not, what tickets we could or could not write on private property. That's it. Nothing else. No more details. The Fourth Amendment, unreasonable searches and seizures. We listen. If you have probable cause, then search them. But we really didn't have a good understanding what probable cause is. When I came out of the academy, I really didn't understand fully reasonable articulable suspicion versus probable cause. All right, I didn't understand that fully. So these things were just the Fifth Amendment. Yeah, I know the Miranda. I know we read you this, that you have the right to remain silent. But if I ask you a question and you say I'm not going to answer any questions, at that time I would have been puzzled. I'm like, what do you mean you're not going to answer questions? So what I'm really saying is this. We really didn't go through details of the Constitution. Like, and the reason I named those three, First, Fifth, even the Second Amendment, because that's a problem as well. Especially in an open carry state, you see someone walking and they're openly carrying, and you approach them like it's a problem, but that's their right. So with these, amendments, we did not really deal with them heavily. And so now that I'm out, I'm in field training. I'm in field training. So what motivated me to start learning what I did not learn in the academy? Because, in short, we learned nothing besides defensive tactics. My trainer, my field training officer, was a complete asshole. That's what it was. He was an asshole. I did not like him. I did not want to be around him. I did not want to ask him any questions, because every question I would ask him, hey, how do I do this? Or what does this mean? Or what about this law? It was always a snobby answer and a snobby remark. And so I just didn't want to deal with him. So it prompted me to start reading. I started reading. And so I just read and I read and I read and I read. And I'm starting to learn more. I still have a lot more to learn, but I'm starting to learn more. Now that I'm reading so much, he makes a remark to me, and I'm gonna get to the point. I know I don't want to just be a slow, long drawn out video, but he makes a remark to me. He goes, I've never had a trainee that reads as much as you do. Little did he know the only reason I read so much is because I just didn't want to ask him any questions. I did not like the guy, So I read, but it helped me to learn certain things that we never covered in the academy, like certain case laws. In the academy, the only thing we really studied for was to pass a test, and that was it. We didn't put a whole lot of effort into it. So again, one last time, when you see officers on the street violating your rights, chances are they really don't know they're doing it. Now, again, I want to put this out there. There are plenty who do know they're doing it, but there are chances that some officers just don't know. Which leads me to my next point: qualified immunity. I've received that question quite often. What do I think about it? I think it's a contradiction because for you, ignorance of the law is no excuse. For an officer, ignorance of the law equals qualified immunity. It's a contradiction. Hardly ever in any situation I would say that should actually be a thing. It should exist. I wouldn't say do away with it 100%, but I think it should truly be on a case by case basis. And I'll tell you why I say that, because I'm going to tell you a story about, if you hang around long enough, I'm going to tell you this story about how I put my job on the line to help a man get out of jail. And I thought I was going to be fired that night, but surprisingly, I wasn't. So qualified immunity, I think it's a contradiction, and it shouldn't exist in the form or the way that it exists now. It should be a board of individuals who would sit down and figure out, should we allow this to apply to you in this particular situation? Should you have known this? Why do you not know this? You know, and when it comes to the Constitution, anything in that Constitution that you do that you that was violating any of those amendments, I don't think qualified immunity should be applied to that particular officer, because you swear an oath to something that you do not know. Law enforcement means you are enforcing laws. You are enforcing things that you have no clue of, but yet you're falsely swearing, saying, I will enforce it. It's impossible for you to enforce it if you don't know what it is. So really quickly, to sum it up, cops just don't know the law. It is what it is. And it's based on academies. 6 months. You know, if you go to like a hairstylist school, it's like 2 years, and everybody knows this, but academy is 6 months. Check this out. In the state of Georgia, you actually have academies that are 3 months, right? Look, I am not making this up. You can look it up. You have very, very short academies in the state of Georgia. Maybe in other states as well, but I know about Georgia. One thing I didn't like was the us versus them attitude. I kept hearing us versus them, and verbatim, us versus them. And I'm like, I didn't know inside it was us versus them. I've seen things around the country. I've seen things on TV, and it made sense while I was there. Like, this is why things are happening the way they're happening, because the mentality, the culture, everything is us versus them. There is no let's go protect and serve. It's us versus them. And that was something I couldn't really allow myself to get into. You know, I don't speak about these things on this channel, but I'm a spiritual person. You know, I believe in God. I believe God watches everything that I do. So therefore, for me to have a us versus them mentality, I don't think that God would actually really like that. Now, this is not to convert anybody, whether you believe in God or you don't believe in God. I do, and that's the way I feel. And so therefore, that's something that helps me to stay in a straight line and monitor my own behavior. And so I couldn't deal with the us versus them mentality. I would come to work, and in the patrol room, everybody would be like, you know, at the end, yeah, let's go make an arrest. Woo. And then this big football huddle, like, you know, excitement. I'm like, you know, if anything, you know, that's paperwork. It's extra time. Like, I would literally try and find a way. Listen, quick story. I had a guy who, and it was me and 3 other officers. We were trying to get something to eat. And officers do not have to make an arrest. We can actually use discretion in certain cases, you know, and we don't always have to make an arrest. This particular guy, it was me, it's my call. I'm trying not to arrest this guy. I stand out here for 45 minutes trying to get him a ride home. He's intoxicated. He could have went to jail for public intoxication and a slew of other things. But I'm trying to get him a ride home. Why? Because it's not my primary goal to take you to jail. I don't get any extra pay if you go to jail. But when you wake up the next morning, now you're more sober. It's like, oh God, it's like sitting in the principal's office. Once you're there, you can think of a million things you could have done not to be there. So I don't want you to have that sitting in the principal's office type idea, or feeling. So I'm trying to get him to go home, or find him a ride home or something. But he was just, oh my God, he was 45 minutes. We were out there. Unfortunately, he did end up going to jail. But the point I'm trying to make is, it's not my first, it's not my main priority to take you to jail. I don't get any benefit out of that, but a lot of guys do. It's a thrill for a lot of guys. It's excitement. It's how many did you get today? I don't get off on that. It doesn't do anything for me. That was something I couldn't deal with either. The power trip. A badge and a gun will turn, and excuse if this is offensive to anybody, but a badge and a gun will turn the biggest coward into the biggest hero. And what do I mean? The biggest coward, without that badge and without that gun, couldn't defend himself without that badge and gun. But once he puts it on, now all of a sudden he's Superman. And he acts like Superman, or the evil Superman. Why? Because it's a power trip. And I really don't like power trips. I don't like guys that are on power trips. Now, mind you, I'm in a place, I'm surrounded by guys like this, but I don't like. It was never me. I could never get down with it. So what I did, I'm at one department, and I'm not feeling the culture. I go to a different department. Maybe this one would be better. I actually work for 3 different departments, and if I had to pick, I would say the first department probably was the best as far as the culture, because it wasn't as bad as the others, but the last 2 were pretty bad. It was a very, very strong us versus them mentality, a very strong power trip. I'm going to be the man and you're just nobody. Citizens are nobody. Yeah, and that drives me crazy. Another quick story. I'm on scene. I'm at a hotel. I won't mention the hotel in the video, but we're at a famous hotel chain. And the front desk wants the people upstairs occupying the room, they want them out. Me and another officer, we go up, we're talking to them. They're obviously upset. They're frustrated. They want their money back. They're screaming. They're yelling. I'm able to talk to them. I do believe that God gave me the ability to talk to people. You don't have to talk down or talk trashy to people to get them to listen to you. I'm able to talk to these people, and they're just calming down. And I'm like, I let them know I'm not here to give you a hard time. This is their request, and we talk, and they understand. And like, I'll go talk to them about let them know that you want your money back, because as a paying customer, you have every right. You got rights as well. And so I'm just trying to play the mediator. And lo and behold, here comes one of the super cops. He comes on scene and everything goes back haywire and out of control. Why? Just because of his attitude and his approach. I hate these super cops I couldn't stand when super cops showed up on my scene. They would make my job a lot harder. And I was frustrated with going to work. Like, man, I don't want to go to work. I don't want to work with these guys, I would like to have a career or a job where when I go to work, I'm okay with going to work. I don't want to go to work and have to feel like, man, I don't like these guys or working with these guys. And that was what was happening, because I didn't like the attitudes. So I'm really learning this police culture. It's really not for me, because this is not how I operate. This is not how I operate in my everyday life. Let me tell you the story about the guy I helped get out of jail. And then I'm going to tell you the story about Big Nick. Again, Big Nick, if you ever see this video, you got me in trouble. I'm joking. And then I'm going to tell you why I quit, why I walked away. A lot of people ask me, did you retire? You look too young to retire. Like, no, I'm only 40. I did not retire. I chose to walk away. I resigned. So there was this 4-way stop sign. And I wasn't really big on traffic stops. I was a little nervous to do traffic stops. Always, it was like one of the, most dangerous things an officer could do is traffic stops. So I really didn't like traffic stops. When you work in law enforcement, everybody has their little niche of what they like to do. Some guys love traffic stops. Some guys are just call takers. Some guys are out trying to make arrests every day. So it's like, it just depends on who you are. And traffic stops, they weren't my thing. But I decided, you know what, I do need to try and keep the street safe. So there was a four-way stop sign. I go and I sit at this stop sign, and while sitting there, a group of little kids, they walk and they go through the stop sign. They're going to the store, and I'm joking and playing with the kids, and on the way back, they had candy. I'm playing with the kids. Hey, give me some of your candy and all type of stuff. And they're laughing. I'm laughing with them, and eventually they go home. But a couple minutes after they go home, they pass through that four-way stop sign. A car just goes through that thing at 30, 40 miles per hour. No, never touched the brakes, never slowed, never stopped. And that really, I have children. That really did something to me. And my thought was, what if I wasn't sitting here? What if those kids were walking through that stop sign at that very moment? I'm sorry is not going to bring back somebody's child. So I every day after roll call, what I would do, I would go directly to that stop sign. I would sit there at least an hour, maybe hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours. And what I saw was, man, it was bad. A lot of people would just fly right through that thing. I don't know how or why, but it's like it's a giant stop sign. You just not paying attention. And they would go through that thing 30, 40 miles per hour, sometimes faster. And so I would those type of situations, I would write tickets. I would write tickets. My lieutenant used to. And side note, for those who say, "Hey, you have a quota," there's no such thing as a quota. No one, the chief of the department can't make you write a ticket as an officer. It would be illegal. If we got paid for writing citations, then everybody would probably be rich because everybody started writing tickets there left and right. So for that reason, they can't make you write tickets. Now, under the radar, they may put pressure on certain officers saying, hey, if you don't write more tickets, this or that will happen, or we're going to change you to a different zone that you don't like. But it's not supposed to happen. But anyway, I never wrote too many citations, and my lieutenant was joking with me one night, or at least I think he was joking. He was like, are you going to ever write a ticket? Remember I told you I really didn't like doing traffic stops. And so I was like, yeah, I'm working on it. I'm joking and I laugh and I leave. So, but that particular stop sign, that really did something to me. I really want to make my presence known so that someone's child walking to the store is not killed by an irresponsible driver going through a stop sign at 40 miles per hour without even touching his brake. So, if you came to a stop at the stop sign, you kind of do a look and make sure, and you go, if I stop you, I'm not writing that ticket. I'll probably give you a warning. But if you just fly through, I'm writing a ticket. I'm sorry. I know somebody's going to hate me for that, but that's just the way it is. Listen, that was the job, and I believed and I felt like I was keeping, that area safe and those little kids safe who walked through there. So to the story, let me get to it. All right. So a car goes through 30 miles, 35 miles per hour without touching the brake. I get behind the car, I turn on my lights, and I chirp my siren. Yo, pull over, right? So I tell him to pull over. He's not stopping. So I tell 911, my badge number was 236 911. They're not stopping. And per policy, you can't conduct a high-speed chase. You can't chase them, only for certain things. And I didn't have enough to chase. So I knew the policy. So therefore, I followed, and before long my sergeant said, okay, let it go, because this is not enough for you to chase him. So I had to turn off. I turned my lights off, turned my siren off, but he ends up pulling up into like a McDonald's right up the road. So okay, I turn my lights back on, I go behind him, and I conduct a traffic stop in the parking spot of McDonald's. So I asked him, I'm like, yo, what's going on? Why didn't you stop for me? And lo and behold, I find out why. He had everything going on. He had, suspended license in the state of Georgia. That's a misdemeanor. He had no registration. You can't be on the road. He had no insurance. In the state of Georgia, your car is going to be towed. He also had a little bit of marijuana with him. And so therefore, he had a few things going on, and some other things. Well, one other thing. Which I won't mention. And so, we have, like I said before, we have discretion. I tell him, listen, I would really like to work with you, but you just got a little bit too much going on. So unfortunately, that day, he went to jail that day. But on the way to the jail, I'm talking to him, and I'm like, and I find out this guy's a really good guy. So I'm like, man, what's going on? Why are you in this situation? And like, any assistance that you need, something, because, and this is not the end of the world. your charges are not that serious. You're going to get out of jail, but you can't keep doing this. And I'm talking to him, and, he's a good guy. And so he goes down. I give him his citations. And remember this, I give him a April 16th court date. April 16th court date. So time passes. Now this happens all in, it was the end of November going into December. So some time passes and I get a summons for court for February 14th. I remember this like yesterday. It was on Valentine's Day. I get a summons to be in court on February the 14th. So, okay, and I see the name. I'm like, typically what we do, we go look up, see what the case is. Why am I going to court? And it was this guy. And so it was strange to me because I have never seen anybody go to court that fast. It was 3-4 months. And, I'm not talking about first appearance, but 3-4 months, 5-6 months down the road, they're in court. And I'm asking all over the department. I'm asking my lieutenants. I'm asking my sergeant. I ask people in the courts. I'm asking everybody like, hey, what's going on with this? This is pretty quick. He's like, we've never seen somebody go to court this fast before. Nobody could answer the question. So, okay, so I show up for court and they call his name. He's not in court. So what does the judge do? He issues a warrant. And I'm puzzled, like, okay. And the judge actually gives me the warrant. He's like, you made the arrest. Like, yeah. And I told him, actually I made the arrest at McDonald's. I know where he works. He's like, okay, gave me the warrant. We go to McDonald's. It was about 7 p.m., 7:30. We go to McDonald's on this particular day. And he's not there. And we tell the staff, hey, don't tell him we came because we're coming back. Obviously, we know they're going to tell him. So anyway, we go back about 11:30, 12 that night. And he's there. Now, the strange part is a guilty man who was trying to avoid the courts and the police wouldn't have showed up for work. That was the first clue to me. So I'm like, I go into the kitchen. I tell him, hey, listen, hey, come with me really quick. And naturally, he's kind of like, why? What do you want? Like, what's going on? And, but since we had such a rapport initially, he was like, okay, I'll go outside and talk to you. So I take him outside because I didn't really want to cuff him in front of everybody. I take him outside and I explain to him, I put him in cuffs. I say, you have a warrant for your arrest. He was like, for what? I was like, why did you not show up to court? And I'm like, because we're talking back and forth now. Like, it's almost like we're not friends, but, we built a little bit of a rapport. Like, I was telling him, like, no, why didn't you show up? You should be in court. Why didn't you? He was like, no, I'm not supposed to be in court to April. Remember, the citation date was April 16th, or the court date was April 16th. And I was like, But at the time, I couldn't remember the date. I was like, wow. He was like, I have my documents. And I was like, are you sure? He was like, yes. He's like, I can have my wife text the pictures over of the documents to you. So I let him use my phone. We get in contact with his wife. She sends over all the information. Long story short, it's all right. He's supposed to be in court April 16th. Okay. I call my lieutenant. Lieutenant, bad warrant. This guy's not supposed to be in jail. All right. He's not supposed to be arrested. My lieutenant tells me, and the bad part about this is it's Friday. It's Friday, right? My lieutenant tells me that's not our problem. He has to deal with the judge when he sees the judge. Now, mind you, I'm sorry this is taking so long, but mind you, I already told you that he had suspended license, no insurance, no registration. He explained to me what was going on with his financial situation. So he has to, come up with some money to get these things taken care of. But if he can't drive, then he can't get to work. And if he can't get to work, then he can't get these things taken care of. It's a catch-22. The crazy part is he actually just got hired at Walmart for a second job, and he was supposed to start the next day, that Saturday. And he's going to jail that Friday, right? More than likely, Walmart's going to fire him for, not showing up to work, no call, no show, right? So my lieutenant tells me, hey, he has to take it up to the judge. They'll clear it up. Take him down, book him, and get back on the road. I'm driving him to the department to book him in. Mind you, I told you, I believe in God. I'm just not trying to convert you to anything, but this is what I believe in. And I don't think that he would look at me and say, hey, this is right. This is not right. And in my mind, I'm really bothered by this. I get down to the department and I don't book him in. He's sitting in front of my desk and booking, and I'm sitting on the other side. I'm like, I'm not booking him in. So what I did, I called my sergeant, which is a step below the lieutenant, and I explained to him everything that's going on. And I'm like, Sarge, I can't do this. I can't do this, Sarge, because this is not right. If it was me, I would not want anyone having me sit in jail for something that I didn't do. I wasn't supposed to be in court on the 14th of February. I was supposed to be there April the 16th. This is a bad warrant. And the lieutenant told me to block him up anyways and let the judge deal with it. I can't do it. Wow. So my Sarge is telling me, listen, go double check. I go double check. I'm like, Sarge, dates are correct. He told me to triple check. I triple checked. He sent me back for a fourth time. I'm like, Sarge, the dates are correct. But the reason he was sending me back so many times because now he was about to take a step over the lieutenant and have me do something against the orders of the lieutenant, which could be a serious offense in the police department, right? So he said, you're going to have to call the judge. He didn't call the judge. He told me to call the judge. And mind you, I told you, we went to the McDonald's. It was already like 11:30, 12 at night. So by the time all this plays out, now it's 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. I have to call the judge in the morning, this early in the morning, and tell him, hey, your judge, your warrant is bad, and we shouldn't have arrested this guy. And, you know, I'm not going to lie to you. I was scared. I didn't know what was going to come of that. Am I going to be fired? Am I going to be suspended? What's going to happen? They're going to throw me under the bus, put me in the worst zone that nobody wants to work. Like, what's going to come of this? And so, but what I did know is that I would not want that to happen to me. And so I end up calling the judge, not knowing if the judge is going to call my lieutenant. Your officer called me 2 o'clock in the morning for this foolishness. You know, he might go off, you know. But I called the judge. I explained to the judge, hey, judge, this is what's going on. It's a bad warrant. He was not supposed to be in court. I have all the documents. His court date was April 16th. There was a mix-up in the court system. The judge goes, release him. Blew my mind, right? I'm like, okay, yes, sir. I hung up the phone. Thank you, sir. I hung up the phone and I released him. You know, like, actually, I never booked him in to start with. So I'm like, okay, he's released. You know, I called my sergeant back and let him know. So sergeant let the lieutenant know. The lieutenant says, okay, well, have him catch an Uber and he can leave. Go back on the road. He wants me back on the road at this point. I'm about to disobey the lieutenant for the second time. I don't feel right about just letting him catch an Uber and go back to work. It was, mind you, it was a few of us, maybe like 5 or 6 of us who went to McDonald's and arrested this guy on his job. So 5, 6 police officers walk on your job, take you out in cuffs. More than likely, the job may fire you. Like, hey, what's going on with this situation? We don't want this type of, you know, we don't want this at our business. You're going to cause us business. You know, customers don't need to see this. So I didn't feel right just letting him catch an Uber and go back up there and plead his way out of, you know, or trying to keep a job. They might not believe what he say. They probably think, oh, you just bunded out really quick. You're back. You know, you're fired. So I disobeyed the lieutenant for the second time. I put him in my back seat and I drove him back to McDonald's, and I walked with him inside and I spoke with his manager and I let his manager know this was a bad warrant. This guy didn't do anything wrong. I didn't even tell him about, you know, well, he was supposed to go to court on a certain day. I didn't even explain all that to him. Like, I don't even know if the manager knew about the first arrest, but at that point it was irrelevant. I just wanted to tell him that this arrest and this warrant was bad. All right, this was not a good arrest. Because I wanted to make sure he retained his job. Plus, he had to start Walmart the next day. So, you know, I even told him, and me putting this on video, I don't know how this will play out because I never told anybody at the department this. But I advised him that night, and he actually walked me out to my car as I was leaving. The reason he walked me out to my car when I was leaving, while I was on the phone calling the lieutenant, the sergeant, the judge. Remember, I told you he's sitting right here in front of me in the desk, and he's right there. And this grown man has tears in his eyes. He's literally tearing up, and he's making me emotional. And I'm looking at him, and I'm like, you know, I'm trying to be tough, like, you know, God, stop, you know, wipe your face, you know. He has tears in his eyes, and he tells me, he said, I've never seen a police officer try and get someone out of jail before. And Right. So he told me that. And so as now we're at the McDonald's, he's walking me to my car, and I let him know. I said, listen, uh, it's a bad arrest. You could talk to an attorney about this. He was like, no, I don't want to push the issue. Well, your rights have been violated. You can push the issue. You can get you an attorney, and I'm trying not to say too much because we wear body cams, and they can replay those things back even if they're not live recording. So I'm trying to tell him, like, listen, this was bad. Now, when I spoke about qualified immunity before, I would think, in this case, qualified immunity would and should apply. There was no intentional intent for me to violate his rights. And when I found out they were being violated, when he was being falsely arrested, I did everything I could possibly do as far as putting my job on the line to make sure that, it was real justice and not some just let him sit in jail and let the judge deal with it type deal. But, he wouldn't push the issue. He didn't want to do it. He's a good guy. He's a really good guy, but I really wish he would have, did more. I didn't want to make him uncomfortable. I continued to push him to do it, but he chose not to. That was his choice. He started at Walmart the next day. He started working there. And this is some years ago. And to this day, whenever he sees me at Walmart, if I go there to buy something, he always walks me to my car. And one day I was there with my wife, and she was like, she's talking like, who's this guy just walking us all to the car? I'm like, I explained to her, hey, this is the guy I was telling you about. This is him, And to this day, we still check on each other. He calls me, hey man, how you doing? Everything's good, and vice versa. And, he's doing great. Like I told you, just actually a good guy, just in a bad situation, just needed some, help, some improvement, some encouraging words. So that's what happened. Now I get back to the department that next morning at the end of the shift. I'm waiting. I don't know if I'm going to be fired. I don't know if I'm going to be suspended. I'm waiting for a get in my office. I need to talk to you now. I'm waiting for that type of deal. So the lieutenant walks into the patrol room, and he looks at me and says, good job. Says nothing else. I'm mind blown. And so I end up leaving right away. Okay, in the shift, go home. Thought it was over. I thought that was it. But the truth of the matter is that was just the beginning of the end. Remember Big Nick got me in trouble? I told y'all that. Remember Big Nick? Now, think about this. One of the supervisors catches me watching Big Nick. I don't know what a 1A auditor is at the time. Accountability, right? Big Nick South Florida Accountability. Make sure you guys subscribe if you haven't done so already. I'm pretty sure you already are. And now, down the road, I'm trying to fight to get guys out of jail. This guy's they started the rumor like he's an undercover 1A auditor. They really believed I was an undercover 1A auditor. So every time they would hear me, like if I'm dealing with a citizen, and when you conduct a traffic stop or something like that, people always say, I know my rights. I learned quickly, because the more I began to learn and read and really learn the Constitution and things about it, I learned that most people don't know their rights. If you ask a person, well, what are your rights? They're only going to tell you what they think should be right. They think what they think should be right in their mind. They actually think that's lawful, but it's like, no, that's not it. That's not actually what's written in the law. Your rights is going to be what's down on black and white. Your rights is going to be that Constitution. Okay? And they don't know that. They just proceed to tell you things about, well, I think this and I think that. Well, that's not the law, what you think. So most people don't really know their rights. And so what I would do, I'm that officer. If you say, hey, I know my rights, I literally stopped so many people, and I'm like, they were like, I know my rights. And I'll be like, okay, yeah, what are they? And I will wait, to see if they're going to tell me what's right. And if they, very hardly ever did I ever meet anybody who actually knew their rights. When I would meet the people who don't know their rights, I would take the time to educate them on their rights and tell them where to find this, where to look up the laws, where to go to it in the Constitution, look this up, read this. And when I did that, it wasn't smiled upon, in the department. Remember, I've already been caught watching excuse me. I've already been caught watching Big Nick, South Florida Accountability. So now the rumor is I'm a 1A auditor undercover acting as a police officer because I'm trying to help citizens. And it just went down here from there. And it was just a me versus them attitude. I'm sorry, us versus them attitude. And when I finally realized that this wasn't for me, we see videos that you guys don't see. We look at training videos, and when I do certain videos, sometimes those videos I put on YouTube may be a little bit older. I know some people are like, I've already seen this video. It doesn't matter, because videos are used for teaching purposes. In the department, they may use a video that's 15, 10, 5 years old. It doesn't matter. It's the training or the educational purpose behind the video. So you guys who keep saying some of the videos are old, stop whining. I'm using them for a reason, to help. All right. And so they were showing us this video, and it was of a shooting, and a citizen was shot, and he wasn't armed. And they asked the entire patrol room, was it a good shooting or a bad shooting? Which means, was it legal or not? What's your opinion? The entire room said it was a good shooting, because as the citizen was running, he was running away, but as he was running, natural motion, his hand goes back. And so everyone's like, well, he could have been reaching for a gun. It's, shoot first, think about how to cover later mentality inside of police departments. I was like, no, that's a bad shooting. I was the only person in the entire patrol room to say it was a bad shooting. And we were going back and forth. And I remember that day. I became really angry. That day. And so in the patrol room, we're transitioning, about to go out to our cars. We kind of naturally, everybody goes to the break room, get something to drink and, a snack before we go out to the patrol cars. And we're still having a conversation. And inside of that break room, I don't know how or when this happened, but I do remember realizing that the entire shift was on one side of the room and I was on the other. And it's like I was separated. Like the way that I've always felt was like it had physically manifested. And when I noticed it, I'm like, yeah, it is. It's like me and you guys, we don't think alike. We don't see things alike. Right? And they're already thinking, I'm like, hey, you're a 1A auditor undercover and things of that nature. Why? Because I don't believe in violating people's rights. And it was just one thing after another. And I was tired of my personal character being judged based off the career field that I had chosen. I just didn't want to deal with that anymore. Why? It's the culture, and naturally the citizens are going to view you that way because you're wearing the same uniform. It's like a guy wearing a bank robber uniform. Well, you may have never robbed a bank before, but guess what? You look like you may have robbed a bank. So I understand when, citizens will look at me as in the same light as everybody else, but I was just tired of it happening. So I know the only way to change it was to take off what? Take that bank robber's uniform off, take the badge off. And that's what I did. So this, what I'm doing right now on YouTube, We the People University, this isn't anything new. I've been doing this. The YouTube scene is new. I'm still learning the do's and don'ts of YouTube. That's new. But as far as trying to help citizens and trying to encourage citizens and help them learn their rights, that's not new. That's something that I actually laid down my career for, to do what I'm doing now. And of course, yeah, I have online courses that I sell. That's now my new career, so if you see me advertising my course, that's my career. That's how I pay bills now. But what did I want to do? I wanted to have a career where I'm doing something I really feel natural. It feels natural to me to do. Something I love to do. Something I really like doing. I can sit here and make 1 million videos and help you learn your rights, and it feels good. I have no one over my shoulder thinking or spreading rumors or trying to come down on me, or now I've been passed over on the sergeant's promotion, because he's secretly he's a 1A auditor. Maybe we shouldn't promote him type. I started dealing with a lot of those things. So I stepped away. So for everyone who wanted to know in detail, that's it. So again, we don't learn anything in the academy as far as Constitution. I mean, the reading over the Constitution is extremely brief. I guess the rumor became I was an undercover 1A auditor. I thought we were here to help the citizens. I guess not. So this is the video I wanted to put out to you guys. You know, raw, uncut. A little bit of edits, but really raw, basically. You know, there's no flashy stuff going on over the screen, no anything. Nothing popping up. Maybe some ads that YouTube might put on here, but nothing's popping up. But I just want to really talk with the viewership that We the People University has built up in such a short span. And I want to say thank you to everybody who's been viewing and supporting the channel. In about 2 or 3 months, it's already going towards 50,000 subscribers and I think over 3 million views. So that tells me that, most of you guys, and I say most because there are some comments, people, you can't please everybody, I get it. But that tells me that most of you guys are appreciating the content, the efforts that We the People University is putting out, and I fully intend to continue and try and expand on how I help people learn their rights. And I hope that it helps the citizens. So I just want to any questions, put them in the comments. I'll try to respond to them, and I try to. It'd be a lot of comments sometimes. I can't get to them all, but those that I can, I will. Any questions, put them down there, and I'll try to respond. So with that being said, that's it. That's the raw, uncut deal. That's what happens in the academy, what happened on the police department, why I left, So we're here now. So I just want to say thank you to everybody for viewing the channel. Thank you to everyone for supporting the channel. Continue to support, and I'm going to continue to do everything I can do to help you guys. With that being said, We the People University, signing off.